Welcome to Bring Out Your Badass Self, a movement to break your negative thoughts and habits and instead focus on building each other up and encouraging fearless authenticity.
Each week, we will get vulnerable and share experiences alongside our guests and audience. Come rediscover your inner badass self.
All right. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, badasses! Good morning. As you join us this morning, please say hello and let us know that you are here.
Yes. And I start that song every morning, or almost every morning. I say that to my daughter. She loves it and also finds it annoying. So,
Like if you stopped, she would be like, where's my annoying wake up?
exactly.
I really miss my annoying wake up. Please.
Exactly.
Good
So
morning,
yes.
Steph.
Oh, yes. We love it when you guys say hello. And also, as a reminder, those on Facebook, we will need you to go to streamyard.com/Facebook and give us permission for StreamYard to see your lovely names. You will also have to do this on LinkedIn and YouTube. They have a similar process. And this will ensure we know who is saying hello. Otherwise, it just says Facebook user, and that isn't much fun, is it, Kate?
No.
So
I mean, we'll talk to you, but we won't know who you are.
Yes. And so, Kate, good morning. I
Good
have to say,
morning.
the vibe from our first show was amazing.
I agree. As my kids say, it was a whole mood, right? I'm trying to pick up some of the lingo. It doesn't always work for me, and they just make fun of me. But I told them I would try to toss in some of my new verbiage into today's show because they thought I sounded a bit like an old person last week.
Man.
But I am an old person, so it works out. At least it was on brand, right?
That's right. We're just being ourselves.
Yeah.
So everyone was asking us about shirts. So we actually have shirts that are coming. So we should be able to display those next week, hopefully. But today I'm wearing Def Leppard, which really has significance to some of today's topics. And Kate, you're in a different place. You're on location. Where this week? Tell the audience where, and also tell them about your shirt.
Yes. I am on location in El Paso, Texas, oddly enough. We drove from Wisconsin to Texas this week. My nomadic family loves to travel. We homeschool, as I mentioned, I think last week, so that gives us some flexibility. Jenna and I also have a little side business that revolves around the tattoo industry. So we go to tattoo conventions all across the country. And we're here for a show in El Paso called Star City. And it's our first time being to the show, so we're kind of excited about it. But my shirt says, "Tattoos saved my life," which is actually a really cool nonprofit. So if you go to tattoosavemylife.com, you can learn more about that nonprofit. But
Nice.
Yeah, you do need a new tattoo, Teresa. Everyone needs a new tattoo. It's so fun. Good morning, all. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my gosh. So Kate and I are the exact opposite when it comes to tattoos. I have 0 and Kate has umpteen million. As well as her wife.
Yes. And in my group of friends, I am the one that has like very few tattoos, although I have some significant ones.
Yes.
Because I have my whole head done, which I'll show off in another episode, I'm sure. But
yes.
But it's it's a prevalent. It's a scale, like so many things in life are, right? So like Sarah's at the 0 and will never get a tattoo end of the scale.
Have no desire.
And I was in the middle of most of my life, and then in my 20s started to get them, and now they're a part of my identity, and I love them so much.
Yeah. Well, so welcome to our second episode of Bring Out
Yes.
Your Badass Self. Today's topic is about finding yourself. And many people go through challenges and traumatic events in their lives and sometimes struggle to find themselves out of the darkness. And so, as we mentioned last week, we actually have a song that is inspiration for this week's topic. And so, I'm going to go ahead and play that and then we'll get right into it, Kate.
Yeah, let's hear your glorious voice.
Yes. So this is performed by Brock Lucas, who is my nephew. He's an amazing artist,
Musician, yeah.
musician, singer, as well as someone that plays almost all kinds of instruments. And yes, someone asked me, was that me singing last week? That was, and I'm also on this week. So it's something I like to do on the side. So without further ado, let's get to today's inspiration.
Go, Brock. Nice.
There you go. So, Kate, I don't know about you, but I have had to find myself a few times in my life. And I'm not sure it's really a one and done type thing. What do you think?
Oh my goodness. It is ever evolving, isn't it?
Yes.
We have to find ourselves as we age, as we grow, as we enter new stages in our lives. I have certainly experienced that throughout my life.
Yes, absolutely. It really does ebb and flow. And this was actually a graphic that I added this week. And so I think we all have our ups and downs. And see if any of these paths resonate with you. Maybe all of them resonate with you. I know for my husband that his path was pretty straightforward throughout his life. I would ask him, did you experience any trauma or did you deal with anything grow as you were growing up? And he's like, nope.
Life is good.
Life is good.
Is that true, Carrie or Kelly? We've got Kelly on the line.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So Kelly will have to let us know. But he did have some things later on in his life that he had to deal with. Me, on the other hand, I had a treacherous path early on. And then in high school, I had a bit of a hazy path and I had bumps on my path that I had to overcome, some bigger than others. But for me, I think everyone has had traumatic events to overcome at some point in their life. So when I met my husband, who had a pretty amazing childhood, that seemed weird to me because I was surrounded by family members that had childhood trauma. I mean, all of my family had different types of things that they had to deal with. And my daughter, on the other hand, has had what I consider more of a curvy life. She has actually twice in her life almost lost her life. But ultimately she ended up, there are certain things she's had to overcome, but for the most part, it's been a pretty, I would say, easy life for her, other than those traumatic events that she had.
Mm-hmm.
Me, my path is more on the straight path. And so I want to know, in the audience, how would you describe your path? And Kate, what about you? How would you describe your path?
Oh yeah. Thanks for sharing, Sarah, and thanks for putting together these types of graphics to help us kind of all align and use the same language. I think
Yeah.
it's helpful. So, man, I feel like a lot of times when I think about this night that um, I certainly had moments of I would think a straight path. um,
Mhm.
but I do feel like from the get-go, um, so there was moments of curvy and straight throughout my life, right? Where I can look and say like,
Mhm.
okay, that was a pretty good year, or that was a pretty good 6 months. But I would say for the majority of it, it's been pretty treacherous. um, you know, right from the get-go.
Yeah.
You know, and all of the challenges that I've had to deal with, and I think when I look at the people that are close to me, like you talked about Jay, if I think about Jenna, wow, her life was very treacherous in the very beginning as well.
Yeah.
Even more so than mine. I had some really big um, traumatic events in my childhood, and but the majority of the time I had really solid parenting, which is awesome,
Mhm.
to kind of balance some of that out. Where Jenna had a lot of both. She had a lot of instability in her in her parenting and her environment, as well as a lot of ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
um, and then I think together, we have found we've been able to kind of make our path a little more curvy together, as we've leaned on each other and support each other as we've grown. But that is not to say that we have not, as a couple and family, experienced a lot of treacherous events as well.
Yeah.
And then when I think about my kids, wow, it's across. It really runs the gamut from you know fairly straight to treacherous. So
Yeah.
um, such is life. How about, yeah, so Teresa saying she early life was treacherous, but now somewhat straightforward. Thank you for sharing,
Yes.
Teresa.
Absolutely. And Kelly said, uh, "My husband's trauma was more about his mean big sister," which is brilliant.
Badass, mean ass, badass, mean ass big sister. Let's call it that.
Well, and they're actually, heading out to lunch today, so
Right, right. So you're not too mean, Kelly. Going out to
Awesome.
lunch.
Yeah, so you can see that everyone has different types of paths that they're dealing with. And
Hmm.
I say that we are experiencing the things that we need at the time that we need to experience them. There is something that we are going to get out of whatever it is that we're experiencing. And
Hmm.
so things happen in our lives to sometimes also wake us up when we're headed down a wrong path. But we have to be able to see those signs and also decide for ourselves to take that different path. And it
Yep.
requires deep self reflection. And ultimately, I have found there is a learning purpose for the things that we go through.
Yes, I agree. Oh, there's a couple of comments that are coming in that really speak to my
Mhm.
soul. So, Kelly's saying that her path was curvy on purpose. Man, I was talking about this last night, Sarah,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Mhm.
I wouldn't have it any other way. Even though, sure, I would like to say, yeah, I could have saved myself and my family, or people around me, some pain, and have avoided an event entirely. But shit, I'd also avoid all the learning that went along with that. And who would I be without that? I can't imagine myself not being who I am. So,
Mhm.
all of that shit is that's a part of us, right? It made us who we are. And then Eric's comment about how it's smoothed out.
Yeah.
Um, I love that too, because that is the whole point, right, Eric? Like, so we learn from the shit that we've been through, and hopefully that helps us prepare better for shit that comes down the road, because it always does come, right? We
Yeah.
all, like, there's certain parts of life, like loss, that is always going to be there,
Mhm.
and if we learn and get good at handling some of those things earlier on, it should smooth out to some degree as we age and move on. um so, not to take just a quick 180 turn, but I'm going to. So I just wanted to take a quick moment to be serious and address something. So today's episode, if if you are feeling unsafe, or if you're feeling suicidal in any way, we want you to know that this episode isn't about people in that state of mind. Don't feel ashamed that you may be in that state of mind. That happens. That's okay. But you need help, and we aren't the people for that help right now. We want you to feel empowered to go get that help. So,
Yeah.
feeling suicidal, feeling like you might want to self harm in any way, that requires immediate help. So, if you're feeling those ways, please reach out and get some help
Yeah.
from either the National Suicide Hotline, or a friend, or someone.
Yeah.
That all being said, we do expect that some of today's topics are going to be a little serious. They might be triggery,
Mhm.
around some key areas. So keep that in mind as well as we move forward. And if we have anyone in our audience that specifically wants to know ahead of time, like, okay, are you going to be talking about these topics? Because that could really trigger me and send me for a spin, a tailspin for the rest of the day. Let us know. You can do that privately, or in the comments, whatever feels comfortable for you.
Yeah.
But
And I think that it's important to also be upfront that we all need to go through therapy. And
yeah,
I have gone through therapy 4 times in my life. And so we shouldn't look at therapy as a negative. It actually is something that can be quite positive. And the first time that I actually went through therapy was in 11th grade. And it was to help me to deal with something. It's a serious topic. I was molested whenever I was young. And so I had some things that I had to deal with. And I was overwhelmed. I felt suicidal. Luckily, I had my sister who called me, and I ended up confiding in her, and she ended up helping me to get support. And so I ended up going into inpatient therapy for a month and was pulled out of school. And so that actually really set me down the path of understanding therapy. The next time that I had therapy was actually right before and after my first divorce with my husband, my first husband. And then the second time was actually through a communication workshop. This one was actually much more joyful, but it still was doing the work. And it was actually early on with my husband in us being able to communicate with each other. Kelly knows he's not the easiest person to communicate with. No, he's a lovely person. And we have actually grown quite a bit from that. And I thought it was an amazing experience. And the thing is, he did too. He actually started telling all his guy friends, look, you got to go do this.
yeah, learn.
Exactly. He learned.
Mhm.
And then the fourth time was actually in 2021. So I want people to understand that sometimes the people that seem the strongest to you, you don't know what they're going through. And I ended up doing that because I was experiencing a lot of stress at work. And I knew for myself that I needed to talk to someone to release that, to stay grounded, and to take care of myself. So all
Mhm.
4 of those were completely different reasons of why I went to therapy. And so I want people to understand that therapy is not about fixing everything in your life. It is not about making you happy all the time. We're
Right.
meant to experience emotions, all of them. And the
Oof,
point of
yeah.
therapy is self reflection and growth. So, yes, even the people that seem the most badass need therapy. And that's the point. It is
Yeah.
growing, and who better to help you than a therapist?
Yeah. Yeah, and I won't go into too much detail because we have so many more episodes to dig into,
We do.
serious topics. But Carrie mentioned is in one of her comments, is roller coaster a path? And I
Yes.
would say if it isn't, then I haven't been on a path, because I would say my life has been very much a roller coaster in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
and totally self-inflicted a lot of the times, right? But it is what it is, and that speaks to why my therapeutic journey has been an extensive one. So I've been in therapy since about the age 9. Started for similar reasons as Sarah.
Mhm.
I had some traumatic sexual abuse experiences with for about a year that led me down into needing to get therapy. My parents were very pro therapy, which was awesome. So I started therapy at the age of 9, and I would think in my 43 years that I have maybe taken a year break at most. So I have done every single type of therapy you can imagine. I love therapy. Um, one of the things I love about really great therapists is that they all have their own therapists. So
Mhm.
to me, we are here in this life. We get one chance at it, and you have to be a student of life, I think, in order to really kick its ass, right? So therapy helps me do that, and I'm excited to share a little bit more about that as we continue down this path together.
I love that, Kate. And as you can tell, we're going to get deep today. So, when
Yes.
it comes to finding yourself, I have found that it is more about what are you allowing to hold you back? And so, Kate and I are going to dive into some of these key things and what we have found can hold people back from finding their inner badass. So, it's really about being confident and being yourself, but also being self-reflective.
Yes. Yeah. You gotta have that yin yang, folks. We've
Yep.
talked about that in the past. And that's that confidence that you have, that doesn't mean you're gonna be an asshole, like you be confident, is being, self-assured that someone else, is not a threat, or that you can figure this out. You come at it with a level of curiosity rather than a level of defensiveness or a level of attack,
Yeah.
and and know that you're on your journey, and people around you are on other journeys, and they're meeting in this moment, but that doesn't necessarily mean that either one of you have to be an asshole in order to be
Yeah.
confident moving forward.
So let's dig in. We got a lot to cover today. And the whole point of this is to get to your badass self. And it requires us to get uncomfortable, as Kate alluded early on.
Ugh, yeah.
So this is a serious and it's also going to be funny along the way. So, as we alluded, you might cry, you might laugh. And so, Kate, let's get into the number one reason that you can hold that's holding you back from finding yourself. And so, I
Yes.
wish I had a drum roll. And so, number one is all hell, all shit, confronting your past.
Ah, yeah, there it is. Shit.
Oh,
Ah,
sometimes we are living in the past. And so, just like my shirt, sometimes those are wonderful memories, and sometimes they're not so pleasant.
mhm.
So, there's a good chance, unfortunately, that some of you, someone you or someone close to you has experienced a traumatic event that impacted their mental, emotional, and even physical well being. The thing
Yeah.
is that once you experience trauma, your memory and even your unconscious thoughts become etched around that event, making it more difficult to move forward. Your brain literally gets rewired, especially the parts associated with pleasure, control, and trust. And for
Mm,
me, my experience early on, what I ended up finding out later on was that it had to do with control. When I didn't feel in control of a situation, I felt helpless. I felt hopeless. I felt like that little child again. I felt like that young girl that wasn't able to protect herself, wasn't able to deal with what was happening to her. And
mhm.
so, what I ended up having to realize is that when I felt out of control in a situation, it really equated to that in the past that had happened to me. And
Yeah.
so I had to figure out, okay, in this moment, how can I deal with not being in control? And I had to figure out ways to be able to release that and to be able to say to myself, it's okay to not feel in control. What can I feel in control about? And that
Yes.
is the thing that I had to deal with. We all have that, So it's for you, your past. What did you have to deal? What do you maybe still need to deal with?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's huge. Um, and those experiences really shape us in good and bad ways. And the important thing is to recognize when you are
Mhm.
allowing your past to define your future in a way that is not really aligned with who you want to be, right? Or isn't aligning with you know what really feels good in that moment. Maybe
Yeah.
it's bringing fear, maybe it's bringing other things. So we'll really delve into more of that
Yeah. I'm gonna
as we
bring up
continue to go.
Teresa's comment.
This dives right into the next point too, I think.
I have a
Yeah.
lot of memory loss from my early childhood due to trauma I went through. And so, Teresa, thank you for sharing that. And so,
Yeah.
part of
Teresa, I
yeah.
I experienced that as well. And it is really, it's been an evolving thing for me because I have I find myself relying on disassociating in the moment is like a coping skill that is really familiar to me. So my body just
Yeah.
kind of generally just slips right into that when I'm feeling dysregulated, right? When my emotions aren't where I want them to be feeling, healthy. So I slip into that disassociation mode, and then builds up and builds up and kind of brings us into what is I think our number two here is lacking self-awareness.
Yeah.
So Teresa, I'd be interested to hear if you experience this, but having memory issues or an inability to remember things, and if that happens often enough, or you kind of live in that state, it also brings you into this place of having an inability to really know what's going on for you. Like
Mhm.
when your memory isn't that all intact, it's hard to be aware of things.
Yeah.
And so this lacking of self-awareness is huge. It's something that I have struggled with all my life, and have really gotten quite good at in the most recent years, as, in terms of working on. But it requires a lot of being honest with yourself that gets pretty
Mm.
uncomfortable at times.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. But I think
Hmm.
part of it is just acknowledging it. And so one of the things that I always say about lacking self-awareness is first acknowledging it, like knowing that that's a problem. And then also identifying awareness in the moment. And so sometimes with certain situations and not necessarily not remembering things or but it's when you have that feeling and you've been triggered, it's understanding and have awareness in that moment of why it is you acted the way that you acted. But then
Hmm.
it's choosing, okay, how am I now going to react? So for me,
Right.
it was acknowledging that I had an issue with control, being out of control. It
Hmm.
was awareness in the moment, going, oh, wow, here's this situation that I'm dealing with. And then now, how am I going to deal with it moving forward? How am I going to choose to react differently?
Right. Yeah. Without a doubt.
Yep.
Um, and that can hold us back. That can prevent us from being the badasses that we want to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kate, let's head to number three. I know that this is one that is near and dear to your heart, not
Yes.
identifying your core values.
It really is. This is a huge game changer for me, and it's something that I realized in my latest kind of round of therapy, the therapy that I'm engaged in right now, which is a pretty um, cool program. But so really identifying what you want and what your core values are is so key, because um, it helps you reassess your identity, so along the way on a regular basis, but it
Yeah.
also helps you simplify things in a really, beautiful way. So you can say, okay, this doesn't align with my core values, and therefore it's not my priority right now. So this has been a huge thing for me. um, I can tell a really quick story to kind of connect these dots. So, I too, I mentioned that I had the one of the traumas I had experienced as a kid was around some abuse, and I specifically remember, as a reaction to that, thinking, well, I don't want men, or I don't want, to find me attractive. I want to really protect myself because I was a kid and I thought this was like the best way to handle that. So I can intentionally remember eating a lot on purpose. Like my goal was like, I'm going to gain weight. if I am really heavy, no one will take advantage of me, and I'll be protected, right? And I was able to, as I continued to grow and age, I was able to see that pretty early on. I've noticed that for the last 20-ish years of my life. You know, wow, Kate, that's what you did. I remember you doing that. I remember you having these thoughts, and I remember, you going through these things. But I had awareness of it, right? So I was able to look back and see the patterns, but I wasn't able to connect it to something that actually made me do things differently because I didn't really have core values around taking care of myself. It wasn't a priority for me. It's just becoming a priority for me. It's still a daily struggle for me. So um, you can have all this awareness and feel great about, oh, I acknowledge this, I'm accountable to this. But if you don't have something larger than yourself that's really tying you into
Mhm.
why you want to do things differently, it won't make a damn difference. So this is a huge point of something that can really hold you back.
Yeah, Carrie said core values help me at least pick my battles.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Carrie, I'm so glad you get this. I wish I had gotten it earlier in life.
I love
But
that.
everything happens for a reason, obviously.
It does. So this next one, seeking external validation. This next one is really about the things that can hold you back because we are seeking someone else to basically validate us. And
Right.
so, Kate, I'm going to try something with you. I'm so proud of you. How did that make you feel?
Well, good.
Good.
Because I admire you. I love it when you're proud of me.
Aw. So
Right?
now, what if I said, you must feel great about yourself for bringing in that huge deal? How does that
Ooh.
feel different? Or
And
does it?
actually, what?
Or does it feel different?
It does feel a little different. It makes me feel like, okay, so that statement tells me that you are proud of me too, but you want me to know that I should be proud of myself. So it takes a
Yes.
total twist, and it makes me think, yeah, shit, I am proud of that. I did do a good job.
Yeah.
That's great. So yeah, go me.
Yes. This is one of the things that as I've worked with different people, I had someone, a specific person that I ended up finding out as I was talking to them that they wanted their dad to be proud of them. And they always felt like they never were able to make their dad proud of them. So they were
Hmm.
constantly seeking that person's approval as well as everyone else's approval. And
Right.
so this is actually something I've changed with my daughter. I no longer say, for the most part, I no longer say, I'm proud of you. I always focus it on that must make you feel great. That you must be so proud of
Right.
yourself for accomplishing because it's her accomplishment. It's not my
Right.
accomplishment. And so it's building people up to feel it themselves.
Right. Yes. Jenna's really good at this with our kids too.
Mhm.
She's excellent about this. Really helping them to understand um, that the way that they feel about themselves is even more important than the way that anyone external, even your mom, even your dad, even the people you
Yes.
hold closest to you, even your spouse, your partner in life, whatever, you know, it's important how those people feel about you, of course, but it's most important how you feel about yourself.
Absolutely.
And those core values, we tie it back, those help.
It does.
Yeah. Yes.
Ah, we ready to jump to the next topic?
Yes, this is one that I know you're pretty passionate about as well.
I am. This is something that I have very consciously done as I was talking with my daughter, or talking about my daughter. And many times those negative experience have taught us to feel a particular way. And some
Yes.
common critical voices might include you're stupid, you're not attractive, you're not good enough. And some people have voices also that carry over into their career. You'll never be successful. I messed up. I'll probably be fired. I actually had this recently. I had an employee that was worried about how someone else was perceiving them, or how it
Mhm.
was it was just a lack of communication, but they immediately went to, "Are you guys gonna get rid of me?" And I thought,
Hmm.
"Oh my gosh, like, why would you feel that way? Like, you're amazing." And so it was spending some time letting that person know that mistakes are okay, like, we move on. It's not life or death, in
Right.
what we do on the marketing side and on the consulting side, and all of these things that we do. And
Right.
so it's really our heaviest burden we carry is many times the voice in our head. So, I did an interesting thing with my daughter, and I actually just brought this back. So at age 4, I asked my daughter, "What does mommy say to you?" And then I said, "What does daddy say to you?" So at age 4, she said, "Mommy always says, 'Thank you.' And daddy always says, 'I love you.'" Now, at age 12, I did it again and documented it. She said that mommy says, "You're so beautiful." And daddy says, "Go clean your room." And so those internal voices from our parents end up coming over into our life. And so sometimes we think we don't deserve the things that are in life, that we feel down about ourselves. And first, we must recognize that thought, as we were talking about earlier. We need to acknowledge where in reality it comes from. And so I always ask, okay, when you feel that way, why? Whose voice do you hear?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if for Stephanie, she says here the
Oh
big
yeah.
that she wasted so much time trying to live up to other people's approval. I wonder if when she recognized that,
Mm,
if she still hears those voices from her 20s sometimes, like
yeah.
if, do you sometimes hear them, or
Aw.
or even put words in their mouths, right? Like sometimes it's all your perception that you're putting out there. That's really, your inner critical voice. That's not even what other people are thinking. But
Right.
you're just so used to being worried about it, right?
Sometimes it amazes me, some of the people that I work with, that some of the things will say, and I'm like, "Are you kidding? Like, you're fucking amazing. Like, are you
Right.
serious?" And
Right.
sometimes it just I'm like, "Stop. Like, stop thinking that." And really,
Yes.
I wish people sometimes could see what I see in them, and I have so many different people that I'm constantly like, "You do know you're amazing. You do know that, you're these things." And I'm not the type of person that's gonna blow shit up people's asses. I just say it as it is, and so if I'm telling you, you are, so start fucking believing it.
Right. 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 Yeah, that is the wonderful thing about being a badass and being pretty transparent. I do think the people around you do get a good sense of, all right, well, this is what Sarah thinks. Because if Sarah thought otherwise, she would have fucking said it already. So I know that she's happy with me because she said that a few minutes
Oh,
ago. And if she wasn't, I would have heard otherwise.
I know,
you
I
know,
know.
right?
And so, it's really a lot of times when we're hearing that critical voice, it's thinking, okay, is this a voice evaluating? It's the self-assessment again, and understanding, is this something that I really should be thinking about myself? And then how do you tweak it? Okay, well, maybe you're not successful yet, or maybe you're not great at something yet, but you're working on it. And
Yes.
that is it. So it's focusing on a way to say it in a positive way, instead of focusing on, you'll never, I always, we'll get into that black and white thinking type thing. But it's really, how do we rewire and restate it in a positive way?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Carrie mentions, this circles back to the practice she mentioned last time. Verbalize two good things,
Yes.
for every negative thing. So if you find
Yes.
yourself thinking like, "Ugh," and it can be little, right? Like you can be like right now, right now I wish I wish I had put socks on and I didn't. And now my feet are cold, right? And I'm like, oh, Kate, you just don't prepare for things as well as you do, as you should. That's the inner dialogue I just had. And I thought to myself, well, fuck that. You woke up 2 hours earlier than you normally would have to do this show today. And who cares? You're going to survive and you're awesome, right? But I wouldn't have even thought of to say those things had Carrie not even mentioned this little thing, even though I'm badass. So
Yeah.
let's keep reminding ourselves.
Yep.
And each other.
Dodie, I love her. She says she loves the honesty that both of us have. She's amazing, amazing at graphics.
Yes.
Oh,
amazing in life in general. She's such a spark.
I love it.
Every time I interact with her.
All right, let's go to our next item. This one, whoo, fear. Fear, it has a
holds us
purpose.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, but it also has a purpose.
It does.
When a bear comes at you, you want to be scared, right?
Yeah.
You have a reason. You have a fight or flight reptilian brain that is kicking in.
Right.
But fear also, as you said, can keep us back. It can keep us complacent. And it is the greatest emotion that keeps us incapacitated. And it deprives us of life experiences.
Yeah.
So how many of us have a fear of losing love, losing money? What about fear of embarrassment or ridicule or rejection or criticism? Why? Like, this was something that really resonated with me when I spent some time on this. Some people that fear losing love or fear of losing money. When you fear those things, most of the time, that's exactly what's going to happen because that's what you're putting out in the universe.
Yeah.
Instead of, I will be good, I will be fine, I will be successful, I will be this.
Yeah. Yeah. This is something I have to remind myself externally a lot of times, because when you are in a place of fear, when you are feeling fear, which I have found for me, fear is at the root of a lot of my negative emotions. You know, so like I can be like, oh, I'm so pissed off. But then when I really ask myself, like, well, what are you pissed about, Kate? Then I really think about it like, you know what? Actually, I'm not really that pissed that this happened. I'm kind of like scared I'm going to be embarrassed as to how this rolls out. Or I'm scared that I'm going to be able to handle this. Or, you know, like when I really ask myself what's at the root of it, a lot of times fear might be my primary emotion and maybe something else is the secondary emotion, right? I mean, sometimes that secondary emotion is like louder. So you think that's what's going on. But fear is, living in fear is so difficult. And so if you can have some, for me, external reminders are helpful. So like, I like to ask myself on a regular basis, what are you afraid of? Or I like to have signs that say like, is this scary or is this what? You know, and really kind of remind myself to assess things. So that's been super helpful for me.
I love that.
Shame.
Yeah.
Shame's a real shame. I'm just gonna say shame's a real motherfucker. You know, shame's the worst. It'll definitely have its own episode. It's the lowest way to regard yourself. Shame, like fear, right? Shame and guilt get a bad rap, right? So shame and guilt are connected. But guilt, actually, one of my therapists right now is a regular saying is guilt can be a good thing. Shame never really is a good thing. Shame is when you are kicking your own ass for something happening.
I'm kicking my ass.
Yes, and it really, you know, can be, you know, way too harsh. So where guilt can motivate you to do something like, oh, I feel bad I was late so many times, so I got to get fucking better about that. I don't want to be late. I don't want people feeling bad, you know. So I'm guilty. That's motivating me to try to change something. I think with someone, Stephanie and Carrie, we were talking about imposter syndrome. Like last week, there are things about imposter syndrome, right, that can actually be good, but it's not necessarily, shame. Shame can actually, be more destructive.
Yeah, and I find that a lot of times shame starts from our childhood again. It's our
Mhm.
past. It's that voice inside of our head. So when you constantly heard, "You're a liar, you're a loser, you're stupid," versus a
You're
child
too
made a
much, you're whatever, right?
yeah, yeah, versus you made a mistake. Like,
Right.
so many times in our lives as kids or and I didn't really experience this, but I've seen where people have dealt with this in their lives where they constantly felt like they were never good enough. So they start to believe that
Mhm.
instead of, "Hey, yeah, you fucked up. You messed up." And there's a difference.
Right.
Yeah, and
And
this can also become a self-fulfilling prophecy as well.
oh, yes. Yes. And um I'm just gonna throw it out there, but anything that you did, a choice that you made like before the age of 30, at least 25, your brain isn't even done developing yet. Like I'm so tired of people trying to hold themselves accountable to things that they did in their youth, even though they were big choices or they had huge impacts sometimes.
Yeah.
But the truth is that our all the science out there shows that our brains are not done developing until around the age 25. So
Mhm.
seriously, let this shit go.
Yeah.
You weren't done cooking yet. Like you wouldn't take a souffle out of the oven and expect it to be, ready after 3 minutes of
Mhm.
cooking, just because you said so. Like, so
Yeah.
let it go, folks.
One of the stories, it was funny, Gina, I was at a conference with her, she's a coworker, and
I love a
in
Gina story.
well, this is so she watched my last we did the spotlight of all the employees, and the very last one and you guys wanted me to interview myself. And so I did that, and in it, I was very open and honest about something that what had happened to me whenever I was younger. And she told me she had her boys watch the video, and I was like, "Wow." I'm like, "There was a lot in that video." And she was like, "Yeah." She goes, "But my son turned to me and said, 'Why would she tell everybody that that happened?'" And she was like, "Isn't that powerful? Isn't that amazing that she is willing that she is basically taking back her own power?" So instead of feeling shame about something that you had no control over, you're now making it your power. You're making it something that is a positive. And so you're
Mhm.
rewriting your story.
Yep. Yep. Stop
Ah,
blaming. That's a way to stop blaming yourself right there. Stop.
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which brings us into another. Yep.
Woo!
Oof.
Woosah.
Woosah. Yeah. You gotta release,
Oh
forgive
gosh.
yourself, let go of the heavy weight that you
Yes.
have. So this is about forgiving. I have found that if you can't forgive yourself,
Mm,
um, it's really hard to forgive anyone else.
right.
So I focus on that. I
Mhm.
I I focus. I've gotten really good at forgiving myself for shit. Um, that's something I've almost mastered. Sometimes almost too good, but um, I forgive myself for the mistakes I've made because um, I can't change it. I can only grow from it, right?
Right.
So even if I did something I absolutely told myself I would never ever do again, um, I I I still did it again. I still it still happens. I can decide to beat myself up over it and be mad about it, and or I can decide to let it go and to try better next time.
Yeah.
So even for huge things in life, like really awful things that have happened to you, if you forgive yourself
Mhm.
and let go of any sort of guilt that you might feel associated with that, or shame, really more shame.
Mhm.
You forgive yourself, you let go of that shame, you disallow that to taint the rest of your life. um, you will find it much easier to forgive someone else.
Agreed. It sounds weird to forgive yourself, but whenever I've spoken with other people that have gone through similar experiences, the first thing I always ask them is, have you forgiven yourself? And they just look at me like, oh, I know it wasn't my fault. I'm like, I know, but have you actually forgiven yourself? And what that means is releasing that negative feeling, that heaviness you're feeling about whatever it is that happened. So it's not that it's really not about forgiving the other person. It's about
Right.
taking this weight and removing it and literally feeling it. Like when you forgive, you feel it. You feel this weight just come off of you, that negativity come off of you.
Yes.
And I completely agree with you, Kate. It's more about forgiving ourselves most of the time than it is about someone else. Like, I don't care if someone else apologizes to me. I need to release whatever that is.
Yep. Yeah. I struggle with being sensitive to people's emotions sometimes.
Yeah.
And this is an area where like I could almost be too good at it once in a while. So just being honest, I can be like, well, I don't care. Like I know why I did what I did. I forgive myself. You don't have to forgive me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes that does get me in a little bit of trouble.
Dodie says, I embrace my stupidity as something that made me who I am today. Without that, we would not be the same person.
Exactly.
Completely agree.
We have quite a lot left to go through. Should we do a flash round, or should we separate and cover some of these in our next episode? We need to make a decision on the fly.
Yeah, I think we keep going. I think, and keep in mind, a lot of these topics we're going to go in depth. The intent of this is to show you that these are the things you need to discover and release about yourself or figure out. And we're going to dive into each of them. And so the next one is trusting your intuition. And this is about staying true to who you are. Sometimes our compass has been impacted by our past, and we're told not to trust our intuition. And so trusting your intuition is about having the ability to challenge your own assumptions. And intuition is about feeling that pit, in the pit of your stomach. It's saying, don't do this, or whatever it is, it's telling you, will start to feel it. And so we're going to go deep into trusting your intuition into a future episode.
Yes, definitely.
Kate, people pleasing. This isn't a problem I have. So
Sarah has no issues. She is not afraid to disappoint a person. Which is so I really struggle with this. I have a really hard time. Mainly with my family. I have the hardest time saying no to my wife and kids about anything, absolutely anything. Even like, different types of toilet paper that they may want, or anything, to huge items, and this is a struggle for me. So, but it can hold you back. So we wanted to talk about it because it is, and we've talked about a little bit about, living for other validation. But this is also like, literally, this is when your goals or your values really revolve around other people rather than yourself. That's when you're people pleasing. It's like it's even more damaging than allowing yourself to live for others people's validation. This is really around making your actions misaligning, so that you really are acting and doing things based on how you think someone else would want you to.
Right. Stop doing it.
Yeah. Don't.
It's easy for me. But I know that it's hard for other people. Like it also goes back to that validation aspect. People pleasing is about not always caring about what you think, but caring about what other people think more than what your core values are, or setting the boundaries, or which we're going to get into a whole other topic on that.
Yep.
Number 11, making excuses.
Yes.
Woo! Do you make excuses for yourself or for others? I mean, it can come both ways.
Oh
And
yeah.
this is one of the areas that in certain parts of my life, I don't make excuses for myself like I do it. But in other areas, like working out, oh, it's too cold. Oh, I got up too late. And so, but if your goal is something specific, then stop making excuses.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep, we got to learn this one the hard way sometimes because some of these things are embedded in our DNA, right?
Mhm.
Um, and or just a part of how we've operated for a long time and the habits that we formed. But um, get rid of the excuses, um,
Mhm.
at least the ones that you were applying yourself,
Yeah.
which is very similar um, to self doubt in a lot of
Mm.
ways. So you're really making an excuse because you don't think you're capable of doing something. Um, so you just give yourself an excuse as an easy way out, and then you don't think you're capable of doing something because you're doubting yourself all the time. you
Right.
know, and that is something that can really block you from being your badass self.
Yeah.
Is to doubt yourself on a regular basis.
Well, I think about this show, we could have doubted our capability in doing this show. And we've received already so much positive feedback. So half the time we doubt ourselves and we're just gypping ourselves of an opportunity to learn from something and to go beyond where it is that we even knew that we could do. We had this internally with an employee that, "Oh no, I don't think I could do that." And then they did it. And then they felt
Hmm.
amazing. They were like,
Right.
"Thank you for making me stretch."
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh.
That's huge. Just like fear, it can really kind of get you down. So
Mhm.
you want to be careful and you want to analyze, like, where is this really coming from? Is this me telling myself I can't do this?
Mhm.
Um, that's that is, um, that's just often misguided in a lot of ways. So
Yep.
analyze that and be gentle with yourself for crying out loud.
Yeah. Well, and the best way that you can overcome self-doubt is to have some amazing people surrounding you. And our next episode is going to be about building an unstoppable team, not only with your personal life, but your work life, whatever different groups
Right?
that you might have. And so, I mean, simply surround yourself with amazing people that are positive. I
Yep.
mean, this is really a simple concept.
Totally. Very simple.
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah. Yep.
So,
You'll level up your game if you're around people that are also leveling up their
abs-
game.
absolutely. Identifying or not identifying your goals.
This is tying back to the your core values, right?
Mhm.
So, um, your core values are what really guides you. Whether that is your faith or your like Stephanie has talked about and mentioned um, here in the comments that her faith really is a big part of her, and that's part of her core value, right? That is who she is and how she wants to operate in her life. Your goals are what help you get there. Those are like the metrics, right, along the way that to
Mhm.
help you to see that you're going to get there. So if my core value is to be as loving and kind as I possibly can be, the goals are, how do I know I'm getting there? How do I know I've achieved that?
Yeah. I'm gonna pull up someone's comment. This
I
is
love this.
Clarence, Casey. That's the shadow talking shit in your ear. And so I think he's going back to the self-doubt or maybe the excuses or trusting.
Yes.
I mean, it's all of them.
Yeah, it is. I like that. Thank you, Casey. It is.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't let that shadow talk any shit to you. Mm-mm.
This one's gonna be a whole episode,
A
making
whole
mistakes
a whole
and
vibe.
learning the lessons. I love
Yes,
that too. It's a
we
whole
got
vibe.
it's a whole vibe in and of itself, right? We got comments on that early in the episode today. I mean,
Mhm.
we all, if when we are trying to be badasses and trying to live ourselves in a most loving possible way that we can, you can only do that from learning the lessons and a lot of the shit that we've been talking about today, forgiving yourself, not living in fear. This is all you embracing the fact that you got to learn something. This shit happens to learn. And that's what it's all about.
Yes. That brings us to our last one, lacking self-love and self-care. Sometimes it's just about taking care of you, and all of these things build up to ultimately just loving yourself, but then it's also remembering to take care of yourself.
Huge, something I've been working on. I've really been working on the last couple of years, kind of connecting a bunch of dots for myself and knowing that I had to up my self-game love, or my self-love game. That's I had to up.
Yeah.
So I tattooed it on myself. I got self-love here. I did so that I can remember, so it's in my face at all times, that if my core value is to spread more love and kindness in this world, which that is one of my core values, I need to do that starting inside. I can't love my life. I can't love my kids. I can't do all of those great things if I don't love myself.
Yes. So Kate and I want to end the show with making you feel good. And
Yes.
so this is something that I have done with people, that when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling negative, when you're feeling any type of negativity in your life, what we want you to do is simply breathe. And so you'll notice the just breathe on the screen down in the bottom right. So we want to end with breathing and doing a little bit of a breathing exercise. So if you're live or if you watch this on replay, we want you to do this with us. So if everybody can close their eyes, we're going to take 3 deep breaths. I want you to feel any negativity that you have within you and feel it roll up into a ball. See that ball of energy and any negativity that you have within your body, and I want you to throw it. I want you to release it. Just throw the shit out of it. Get rid of it. Now, yes. Let it go. And so I also want you to remember that you are the ruler of your life. Ask that power is restored. So I'm going to say 4 affirmations that always help me. I am enough. I am grateful. I am powerful. I am love.
I am enough. I am grateful. I am powerful. I am love.
Yes. I don't know about you, but I feel tingly.
Me too. I'm feeling good. I'm ready. I am ready to have a kick-ass weekend.
Yes.
It is Friday. We made it.
Yay!
It is Friday. We deserve this Friday. We deserve this kick-ass weekend we're about to have. We're going to kick next week's ass. We are here for it.
I love it. She does this when she's overwhelmed. So guys, continue to provide us feedback. Share this with other people. We want to continue to just make this a movement of finding more and more people just to help them find their inner badass self. And I want to thank Brock. We're going to play the song one more time, and then we're going to wrap things up. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. Love you all.